That was probably the nicest introduction I ever got. There is all these words, eco-villages and sustainable development, and then it comes strategies, blah, Baltic Sea region, blah, whatever. So I feel with you, and I already feel with you because you have to stay with me for the next, how much time do I have? 20 minutes? Yes, so poor you. But we could start with, because I also have a very hard time now, you just came back from lunch, so I know what's going on over here. So we could start actually talking about, for me to figure out what you know. So it's a knowledge check. So all of you who do not know anything about the Council of the Baltic Sea States, you stand up. You see the trick. I assume no one knows, so I get more people up. And who of you do not know anything about the EU Baltic Sea region strategy? You get up. EU Baltic Sea region strategy. Seems my strategy. You do not know anything about the strategy. You already stand. Okay. Well, why I'm doing this is I want also to find out how much I'm actually telling you about my own organization and how much in detail I should go. It seems a bit you're all experts, so when I see people leaving the room, then I probably have already spoken too much and then I will just go back. But some of you might have met me 3 years ago when there was the kickoff meeting of the Ecovillages. I remember sort of nothing about this because I was food poisoned at Arlanda Airport when I arrived in Vilnius, so I was not conscious, but I remember that I spoke about the Council of the Baltic Sea States and Ecovillages as a Baltic 21 lighthouse project, and that is just another fancy term I'm trying to explain to you. But for all of you who do not know my organization, who stood up, the Council of the Baltic Sea States is an intergovernmental regional organization, and it's about political cooperation in the Baltic Sea region. And our member states are basically all the countries around the Baltic Sea, the sea. And we say it's 11, and now you count and think, but hang on, it's only 8. But in this case, it also includes Norway and Iceland. Then maybe it's also worth mentioning that a standing committee member is Russia. And thereby my organization is the only organization in the Baltic Sea region where really all countries are involved, including Russia, meaning also non-EU members. Plus we have a representative from the European Commission, so the European level is always present at the meetings as well. And when I say the standing committee members, well, that are mainly the representatives from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And to make it even more complicated, I'm not serving in the first place these Minister of Foreign Affairs members, but I'm serving a different bunch of people that is related to the 5 long-term priorities some of you might not see. So that's environmental sustainability, economic development, education, culture, energy, and then something we call the human dimension and civil security, where we work a lot on human trafficking. There is a meeting right now in Vilnius on human trafficking issues and social exploitation and work exploitation going on. And in human dimension, we talk, for example, also a lot about civic protection measures. But nevertheless, I'm mainly working in environment and sustainability, and there is another group of people, as I said, I'm mainly serving, and they are representing the ministries of environment or the ministries that are responsible for sustainable development that usually do not exist. So from Norway, for example, there is a guy sitting in my group that is actually from the Ministry of Finance, which is a very exciting thing when he hits the ground and talks about economic issues, resource management, and it's really taking out the bill. And now, if we cut here, then we save there, and we're like, good. So this is the organization I'm representing here today. Then. Under the long-term priority environment and sustainability, we are currently implementing until 2015 still a CBSR strategy on sustainable development. And there are again a lot of words and a lot of other priorities and things we're working on. But one of them is called sustainable urban rural development. And under this point of work, we do have a lot of projects that help us to realize on an operational level to reach that goal, a sustainable urban-rural interaction, sustainable urban-rural development, good links between the urban and rural environment, that these two parts start talking to each other, profit from each other. And one of these projects that are active under this priority, that's Ecovillages. And the way we work under this strategy on sustainable development is what we call the project to policy loop. So the projects are there to feed into the policy that creates new laws or new policy documents that feeds back needs that is then taken up from other projects again to feed into new policy development. And so it goes round and round and round and keeps the thing alive. And when I introduced Ecovillages in Vilnius in 2011, yes, then I introduced Ecovillages as a Baltic 21 Lighthouse project, because this is what the projects that are active under this strategy are called. But now the world has changed. In the time being, my organization, we still work on Lighthouse projects, so you're still in the game. But something else popped up for us as organization, and that was the EU Baltic Sea Region strategy, or EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, which is, as an EU strategy, a so-called macro-regional strategy. So the idea is from the EU to do cohesion policy and cooperation within a certain macro-region, bringing together countries on a cross-sectoral integrated way to work on macro-regional challenges. Challenges that do not only are inherent for one country or one region, but are actually of interest for all the countries or a couple of countries in the Baltic Sea region. And then they decided during the latest revision of that strategy, which is, it's a paper, it collects dust in a shelf for many people, but then there are other people, it's around 500, 600, that really are active in trying to implement the strategy, so basically to fill the strategy with life. And now I promised Ann from Swedish Institute to be super interactive, because I messed up my presentation, so I have to draw. And the work in this EU Baltic Sea region strategy is basically... Yeah, sure. It's basically... it's on 3 levels. And I'm a bubble fan, so you will see bubbles. So the first bubble is the operational level. And the second bubble is the coordination level. And the third bubble is the governance level. And you probably could see that there is a need to link these bubbles, because the operational level, these are projects. Can't write even. Then the coordination level, that are people that sit in organizations that have certain roles, and I will come to these roles in a minute. And then there is the governance, and the governance is mainly on the EU level, on the EU-European level. And only this makes sense if you look at this, because this is how the strategy, as say, if you open the document, just the paper, then this is what you will see. The EU Baltic Sea region strategy is along 3 objectives: save the sea, connect the region, increase prosperity. And around these 3 objectives, you have a couple of what they call priority areas. And these are the areas that have been identified as being of macro-regional interest. So they are the challenges that should be covered on an overall level within this Baltic Sea region. And at current state, it's 17. And then, again, some of you might not see, there are horizontal actions, and it's currently 5 of them. Spatial, neighbors, involve, sustainable, promo. Lots of words, lots of abbreviations. The only important you need to remember is, of course, horizontal action sustainable, or also sustainable development and bioeconomy, because this is the horizontal action my organization is currently leading. I still see people nodding, so we're still good. And these 3 bubbles are kept together because of these 3 bubbles. Under each and every priority area, say hazard or agri or ship, agri is on agriculture, hazard is on hazardous substances, transport and transport, market is on internal market, health is on health, education is on education and youth. There are a lot of projects And the projects are here, operational level. Those are the guys that make their hands dirty, that go on the field, that put in the hands in the soil, grow things, develop new projects, find the solutions, develop the models, create the bubbles, and then give it to the coordination level. And these are all the guys that are responsible for the priority areas, and they are called priority area coordinators and horizontal action leaders. So they take then all these project results, fiddle around with this, and then be the spindle or the spider in the net to communicate these results to policymakers. And now comes the trick, it's on different levels, again, multi-level governance. So we talk to the local level, we talk to the national level, we talk to the macro-regional level, of course, that's what we're doing all the time, and we talk to the EU level. So then we give it to the governance, which is here. When we now look into horizontal action sustainable development, then since March 2013, we're having the following, what they call actions and flagship projects. So that is the operational level within the strategy paper. And it's around 2 actions. And the first one, again, is the one that is most interesting to you, because as you see, something is highlighted in green, which is called Ecovillages. So now I've guided you through the whole thing of different levels and different words and different bubbles, and now we come down to Ecovillages on an operational level. So under the action green economy, in the EU Baltic Sea region strategy for the in the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, you do have an action called green economy, where Ecovillages is a flagship project. Are you still with me? Good. And you're together under a flagship, which is called Develop a Network of Sustainable Cities and Villages. So under green economy, there's another focused topic, because green economy is broad, sustainable development is even broader. Policymakers do not want to sit and discuss the difference between sustainable development and green economy. Actually, these terms are very scary. Can't we just break it down even further and make it workable? And then we say, okay, then maybe we should go down and talk projects, because they actually give you the practical ideas about how this world might be transformed into something more sustainable or resilient. And under this flagship, there are a couple of projects, and as I said, Ecovillages is one of them. And some of you might have heard me speaking about green public procurement or energy and resource efficiency, you see there as well. And for some reason, a new project that just started, Reels, is not on that slide, and I don't understand why. But they are there as well. And the second action, and the third, and I would just say them 2 together, but it's about climate change, and then we're focusing as well on adaptation as on mitigation. Then, of course, all these levels I was just speaking to and introducing to you, they have to talk to each other. I'm only representing, so to say, sustainable development. But what does this mean as a term or as a topic if I'm not able to apply sustainable development into different other priority areas? And you remember the 3 bubbles from the beginning, where you have all these 17 priority areas. So in an ideal world, in 2-3 years' time, there won't be any horizontal action sustainable development anymore, because all of these priority areas, they automatically think sustainably and integrated and cross-sectoral when they work, which they don't do at the moment. It's still very sectoral. But we have started talking to the others. So we have started talking to PA Agri on agriculture. We have started to talk with PA Tourism on sustainable tourism development, with PA Secure, mainly related to climate change and adaptation and civil protection measures in climate adaptation. PA SME, then we come down to green public procurement again, and with PA Education, mainly with a view to education for sustainable development. And that's very tricky, because they still think university and education, like formal education, and to get these guys to start thinking informal education, something that has been mentioned here already today, that's really, really difficult. Because this is not the way they work, because they are mainly related to ministries, and ministries do not work or think cross-sectoral or integrated. So the job we're doing here is basically to be the facilitator, mediator, and moderator between these different levels the different actors. And we need you as projects to be part of that so we can talk about the good solutions that are out there. Because the people that do the policy development, they don't have the time, or they don't basically want to do digging in the soil and make their hands dirty and do it themselves. So we all have to work together. So talking about what is happening to Ecovillage, besides being a Baltic 21 Lighthouse project, which makes you guys be able to talk to my expert group, and my expert group being happy because you gave them a lot of good ideas, you are in this framework of the EU Baltic Sea Region strategy, which enhances or enables you to have very good contact to policymakers, probably not each and every one of you individually, but for the project results to be communicated on a higher level, to be visible on a higher level, to probably inform policymaking in a smarter way, more direct, more consolidated. And the advantage for you as projects probably is that you hopefully feel you are part of a bigger picture, and that you're not alone as a project, but there are new developments coming all the time, and that you are part of a big European network, or at least a big macro-regional network. And as I said, it's around 600 people, I would say maybe a bit more, that meet every year, which I would say is sort of the hardcore group of people thinking Baltic Sea region 24 hours a day. And they meet every year at what is called the EU Baltic Sea Region Strategy Annual Forum, and that forum is in Vilnius this year on the 11th to 12th of November. And I can only just invite you to that fun conference to see what is going on, maybe in sort of a world you haven't seen as such yet, but it's probably good because this is the place where results that come from projects like you are followed up and talked about and presented. So come to Vilnius and see the fun. I think I will leave it here. Oh, no, I will not, because I still have this white paper here. Because I also want to say some personal words. As I said, I started with this project 3 years ago, so it's also very exciting for me to be here again, because I see how the development started from my professional work, but also my private world, so to say. And there are a lot of people in this room that really, really inspired me, and because of them, I think I can talk about things like this, as I just spoke to you today. And that inspired me, but also very personally. I know I talk too much about my permaculture certificate that I just did this summer, and I'm still too proud about it. So, but it's basically all to people in this room, and I would like to thank you very much for this, to show me a new world, because I'm a political scientist. Now, I'm usually the policy science person, the evil, boring person that comes and talks about strategies. But you have really opened a new world for me. And please continue, and thank you for letting me be part of this community and this movement. It's really important, and really keep on going. So thank you very much.